think they, no, that's D-Tuttle.
Okay, we're gonna get started. Bernie?
I went to the old Yankee
See,
Stadium.
that's
I
what I
hadn't been
meant.
to the new one.
I always want to go to that old Yankee Stadium.
It ain't there no
No,
more. They
no, it's
tore it
gone.
down. I love-
Ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome to the May 12th, 2025 regularly scheduled meeting of the Rockingham County Planning Board, which I now call to order. We now ask Mr. Corey Scott to deliver our invocation.
Let's pray. Eternal Father, we are grateful to gather in this planning board meeting in Rockingham County. And we are grateful that we can meet to discuss the cases that are before us. Bless us to have thy guidance and thy help as we read and consider all the material that's being provided, the evidence and the thoughts and feelings of those who have come to speak, that we might know the best thing and best course that we should take and the which way direction we need to go, and help our minds to be clear, fair, and considerate in all that we do. And ask for this in the name of thy Son, our Savior Christ. Amen.
Let the record show that a quorum of members is present to conduct this meeting. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the April 14th, 2025 meeting.
Adopt the agenda first. Adopt the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, adoption of the agenda. Let's do that first.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. The agenda is adopted since there's no opposition. And now to the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the April 14th, 2025 meeting as written.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes for the April 14th, 2025 meeting. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Again, the vote is unanimous, so the minutes are approved. The following is for your information. Zoning map changes reviewed by the Planning Board are legislative matters. These map changes are reviewed for reasonableness and consistency with North Carolina General Statute 160D, the county's 2021 Land Use Plan, and Unified Development Ordinance, among other adopted plans. When making a decision, we consider the recommendations of the planning staff and public comments. When applicable, this board reviews potential land uses requested by the applicant. Planning board decisions are forwarded to the Board of Commissioners as recommendation. The Board of Commissioners will hold a public meeting before making a final decision whether to approve or deny a zoning map change recommended by the Planning Board. A zoning map change is the first in a series of reviews and approvals that move a project forward. The Technical Review Committee reviews the site plans and technical items related but not limited to later development approvals, including transportation concerns, environmental issues, and county services. The TRC is comprised of professional staff and other agency members, such as the North Carolina Department of Transportation, county schools, emergency services, and the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. Once this case is introduced, the applicant will have up to 7 minutes to present their case. Then anyone who has signed up to speak about the case will be called on to provide their input, after which the applicant will be given an additional 5 minutes for rebuttal. The time for each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. With that, we're going to call on staff to introduce our first case 2025-07.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Before us is case 2025-07. This is a conventional rezoning request asking to go from residential agriculture to residential protected to the neighborhood commercial zoning district. Just for the record, the tax pin that's associated with this parcel is 893200525517, and this is located at 1024 NC Highway 87. This is occurring generally in the southeast section of the county, kind of southeast of Reidsville. And as you can kind of see here, it's along the intersection of 87 and High Rock, as well as City Store Road. Looking at the parcel, you can see it's got those two zoning designations, and you can kind of see the RA and RP zoning designation, kind of a hodgepodge in this whole area for the most part. The requested zoning district, that neighborhood commercial, is already kind of present there at the corner of the intersection as well as to the north of the intersection. That neighborhood commercial zoning district, for the most part, is a pretty typical kind of commercial zoning district, kind of sitting in the medium of our intensity of commercial districts. Currently, we have an aerial up for you to review. To the east of the property, you can kind of see that there's a auto sales business currently. I believe, generally speaking, this is kind of looking to be an expansion of that business. I think it's in similar ownership, but as you know, for a general use rezoning, we're considering all of the possible uses within those zoning districts. The Rockingham Comprehensive Plan identifies this area in the G2 land class, characterizes the controlled density growth area, and the G2 does recommend neighborhood commercial as one of the zoning districts for that area. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
There's two parcels, there's two pieces there, one's RP, one's RA.
Well, it is one property, so it is one parcel, but it is what we call,
Mixed.
it
Right
is
now
what we
it's
call
mixed.
like split zoned.
Yeah, okay. And then the intent is to make it all that 4 acres to.
That is
the
correct.
same zone.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Have there been any calls?
I've only received about 2. Ben, did you have? So
I've
probably
had one.
probably about 3 overall. Mostly just inquiries for the most part. I think I had one woman who kind of generally leaned towards maybe not being unfavorable, but didn't speak too specifically.
If they expand that to neighborhood commercial, are there any boundary changes and things, or things that they need to do with with that new addition of that property to protect the environment around it or anything? Since it's a car dealership?
As far as the environment, I'm not necessarily sure that there's anything in the UDO specifically. There wasn't really any kind of like environmental features on the property for the most part that relate to the UDO.
Used cars and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I mean, there could potentially be something from like NCDEQ. The only thing that usually comes to mind in that is like erosion control, if they're like moving certain amounts of dirt and clearing certain amounts of spaces. There might be some extra permitting and stuff for that, but our UDO does call for like landscape buffering for commercial, especially when it abuts residential and things like that. So that would be probably one of the more like key features to look out for any kind of development on the property.
It looks like they got a pretty good buffer around where the,
Yeah, there's already a good amount of existing vegetation.
is there's a home currently there. Is that home going to stay there, or are they going to clear that out and just make it all?
I would probably ask the applicant about their intentions with that.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
Did I hear you say this was a conditional zoning?
It's a general use rezoning.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Barr? Thank you, Ann. Mr. Randy Walker? Please come up to the podium. State your name and address.
Walker, 2413 Minor Wood Road in Greensboro is where I reside.
And you're the applicant for this request?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would you like us to know?
Well, I mean, I just started the dealership 2 years ago. We grew from 6 cars to 60 cars, so it's been progressively growing and providing cars for nearby people as well as other places. We bought the place next door in hopes of expanding the inventory as well as maybe building something to provide like service for people around for like, just maintenance of cars as we want to maintain our cars as well. And I know you asked previously, I guess Corey, was about the house currently on the location that we wanted to keep there. As of right now, we're just rezoning it to the commercial, and then the goal in the long run is probably make it, I'm not very educated on moving the parcels together to be one exact place and maybe keeping that house as a residential and then cutting up the land. I'm not really sure how that works, but as of right now, it's just, rezoning of commercial.
Adam, if we rezone this property, and then he wants to come back and make the property where the house is located, say residential protected, I mean, we're going to end up rezoning this thing at least twice.
That is a possibility. I mean, he can, if it is rezoned currently in the ordinance, residential isn't a permitted use per se in the table for any of our commercial districts, really. So the house could stay, and it would be what we call like a legally non-conforming use. So the structure itself wouldn't be able to be expanded, but it could still be lived in. It could still be utilized as a home. If anything, kind of later down the road, for the most part, comes to where the structure needs to be expanded, he could always come back for rezoning for that. Generally speaking,
What if we were to leave the RP as it is and just rezone the RA to the neighborhood commercial?
Yeah, so the only thing about doing that particularly is usually especially on more like a staff level, we'd usually at least want some form of kind of boundary survey to kind of get a better understanding of, I guess, exactly the area of which the rezoning is actually being requested for. So to know the exact like acreage of the rezoning request, that usually takes some time to be able to do. From my initial conversations with the applicant, it seemed like he was kind of more inclined to go ahead and get this process started.
Well, that brings up another dilemma. Is a residential protected, if we rezone the property as neighborhood commercial, can they have a residence on neighborhood commercial property?
Like I said, they would be able to continue the use, but they wouldn't be able to like expand the use. Like I say, it would be a legally non-conforming use if a home gets rezoned to commercial in this instance. So if you were to just go back to rezoning just that RA portion, that wouldn't be the application that's before you tonight. So that he would have to come back with an application showing the correct acreage, usually probably at least including some sort of a boundary survey of knowing exactly how much that acreage is, so we know exactly what we're rezoning and not rezoning.
I'm envisioning a problem in trying to sell that house.
Or would you think about turning it into another, adjunct sales office and, having?
It's a possibility, yeah. It's just,
Anyone living in residence now?
no one's living there as currently.
So, but as soon as he changes Right now, the dwelling is empty.
This is what he has
And as soon
now.
as he changes that and does something different in it, i.e. an office, then that automatically, then that negates the grandfathering, am I correct?
If this would get rezoned to commercial and an office space go into that building, then
Yeah.
that legally non-conforming status would go away there for the residential
Right,
use.
so if he does any of these under any of the uses under highway commercial, neighborhood commercial, that building can then no longer be used as a dwelling, as a home, and that answers all the questions.
But it sounds to me like you're still working through all of this, and you're not exactly sure what your future is. You know, you just want to expand, and you bought that property. Is that right?
So you got a house.
The goal is to build like a shop on the extra back part of the land, so I need to go ahead and get it commercial before we even step into investing that kind of money into a shop, if that makes sense.
I mean, once they do that, it's,
Yep.
the house is coming.
So this, and I'm sorry, I should have asked this of staff while y'all were up here.
You're fine.
There is an RP bordering this piece of property, and they're on the satellite map. This does not seem to have, there's not a whole lot of buffer. There's some trees there, but it doesn't look like it's a specific buffer. There's going to have to be a specific buffer, because that looks like a pretty substantial house there.
So are you talking about the western portion?
Yes.
Before that sliver of RA?
No, I'm talking about the one with the pool behind it, but there's a house, there looks to be a significant house. There's two slivers, so there will always be will there always be that RA buffer there? The sliver of the one that's behind.
Yeah, I think I know where if you're referring to like the different property, then ultimately, I mean, that would not be a part of the consideration tonight. And, you know,
Okay.
if someone were to own that property and request to rezone it, I mean, that would ultimately be up to you and the commissioners to decide if that were to get rezoned. But if you're referring to more like landscape buffering specifically, then we do have several requirements for landscape buffering for any kind of like commercial uses. So there would definitely be some sort of like vegetative buffering, especially as it abuts residential is kind of one of the main
So
instances
that would be
there.
in between 1024 and this vacant lot.
And this guy,
That'd be correct.
Right, I got it, okay. Yeah.
the guy that owns 1080 owns the
Yeah.
sliver. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You know where I'm going with this, don't you? You know where I'm going with this. He's got a buffer.
Just right here on the
I'm
aerial?
looking- Yeah, I'm looking for the buffer.
Does that come up
Look,
for
so,
you? Okay, good.
so he's got all that buffer,
Yes.
all in between. Yeah,
Okay. I got you.
yeah.
They started building, when he asked for the building in the back.
Yeah, so currently, with that being zoned residentially, for sure there's going to be some buffering requirements and increased setback requirements for any kind of commercial structure that goes on this property.
In addition to the small copse of woods that's sitting there already. Okay,
So
yeah, I got it.
existing vegetation can be used as part of that buffering.
Okay.
It's got to be on the property that he has.
Yes, it has to be on, it would have to be on this commercial, you know, assuming this gets approved. If this is a commercially zoned property, it would have to be on this property itself. It wouldn't matter the ownership or anything like that.
So,
He can't use that sliver owned by 1080
As-
for the
as
buffering
counting
that
towards
would be
that, yeah.
required on his property. Yep, yep. Okay, we're good.
okay.
We're good.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure 1080 had plenty of buffer.
Where you going? Mr. Walker? Mr. Walker? We're not done yet. Was your coffee break good?
I'm sorry. I got us out of order. That was my fault.
So you do understand that the buffering to the west side of that property has to be on your property if we rezone it?
So if you
Looks a
rezone
little
it,
scant on part of it there. You might have to add some to it.
Yeah, there's one section there's one section
in
that's
the middle there,
blank that you're gonna have
And
to.
you can find out from the staff what those buffering requirements would be. You know, it's like 15 feet.
Yeah,
What is it?
something like that.
15 feet, trees so high and stuff like that.
You're gonna have to put Leyland Cypress in
Are there any further questions for Mr. Walker from the board?
there. A wall.
Julie, any other questions?
No, none for me.
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you, guys.
And we have a speaker, Rose Creed. For the record, would you please state your name and address? And you can pull that
Rose
microphone
Creed.
down a little bit. There you go.
I'm a little short. Rose Creed, and I live directly across 1009 NC 87 in Reidsville. The car lot is already directly in front of me, and them talking about building another building to do car repairs and oil changes and everything, and it's already devaluing my property directly in front of me. And then you're going to have all this traffic coming in for car repairs, and they live in Greensboro. They don't live across the street from a car lot. You have all this environmental thing. Everybody around there is got well water. And I think that would be an environmental issue right there. Changing oils and working on cars. And the cars are right up to the street. Is there going to be nothing to, cover it up a little bit, so it'll look a little bit neater than just cars right up onto the road? And is there any restrictions for them to do anything across the street if they get it rezoned? I know they're already a business right there, which is bad. And now they've bought Ellen's house, and they're going to expand it even more. But I bet they don't live across the street from a car lot.
Question?
Okay. Are there any questions for Ms. Creed?
Mrs. Creed, how long have you lived at this residence?
Pretty close to 30 years. I can't remember whether it's 29 or 30.
And
My husband grew up down in that area.
in this time, you've got Ross Store that's right beside of you. And this
Right, and
car
it's
lot.
always been there. And their little building that they've got their office across the street, that's been there since my husband was a little boy.
Okay. So the car lot has been there, how long?
A couple of years, I think. Is it a couple of years?
Yeah, a couple of years, 23.
Okay.
Why do you think there will be an increase in traffic if they,
They open up another building to work on cars and everything, if they get a good business going. Don't you think it'd be more traffic? It's already a lot of traffic going in there. And that is a busy highway,
Yeah,
especially when you come up from 87, coming from Burlington. You have to watch how you get out.
thank you.
Can I ask real quick, you said that you thought it was going to devalue your property?
Across the street?
My question is, did your property taxes just go down?
No, they went up.
The evaluation is
Well,
it?
this past year, I paid more taxes than I did last year.
We all did. My question is, I don't know how you call that a devaluation.
Well, I think would you like to live across the street from a car lot? You
It
sit
wouldn't.
on your front porch and all you see is cars across the street from you? Well, okay, it don't bother you, but it does me.
Okay, I was just
Yeah,
curious
I know
about the
what you're saying.
devaluation part
I
of
think
it.
it would. I think it would. You don't think it would?
I don't.
Well, my niece is a RE/MAX realtor, and she's been in business for years in Greensboro, and she said it would. She said your property wouldn't be worth anything but the land it's on.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm going by what she says. But with the car lot, the car lot, but if you have a building changing oil and everything, I know they're not supposed to spill it on the ground, but it doesn't say it won't spill on the ground. Everybody around there is on well water. Don't you think that would mess up the,
I was in the tire and business for 25 years, and they can't pour oil on the ground.
oh, I didn't say they would pour it on the ground. I'm just saying, with all of that, don't you think it's possible some leaks out? No?
I'd be surprised if it were.
Well, I still wouldn't want it directly in front of my house.
I'd be more concerned about the gas pumps at Ross.
Yeah, the
Store.
gas, well, they've been there since the house was built.
No wonder how long those, but
Are you
anyway,
talking about this property?
Okay.
yeah, yes,
Julie,
yes.
are you talking about this property?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
that's-
is Ross
Oh,
Store. Yep, and then this behind it is, I don't know what that is. This is on my Ross Store.
So Paul, I understand that before that they would be allowed to build a building, to do car repair, they would have to have an environmental impact. They had to have all kinds of analysis about that, right?
There's a whole list.
Whole list of stuff that they have to go through to protect the environment.
All of those issues are brought up at the time that the site plan is submitted. And more recently on the TRC, there's been more or greater intensity of scrutinizing site plans. Yeah. We sometimes, over a period of months, see the same site plan 2 or 3 times. The revisions are requested, and the engineering staff of the applicant reworks plans, resubmits them, and might still not get approved, and another resubmission, and so on and so forth, until everybody on that committee agrees that it's environmentally sound and covers the other main issues.
And this sort of begs the question, and I'm sorry I didn't ask you while staff was up here. How does this fit in with the land use plan? Is this the growth node area? Because there's a lot of highway commercial around
It
this.
is, and the specific class that it's in actually specifically calls neighborhood commercial as one of the particular zoning districts that I would like to see in that area.
Okay, but now that I think about it, I remember this sort of 87 area out in that section. It's one of those small, like growth,
those
like
nodes.
commercial growth area where there's mixed, housing and commercial, and this looks like one of those things.
Yeah, as far as how it relates to the comprehensive plan, I would agree with what you just said.
Yeah, and like more density or more closeness between RP and highway commercial, and then the commercial, the straight out commercial.
Right
Yeah,
behind it.
yeah.
It's in the G2
Yeah.
transect. Okay. Mr. Walker, you now have time to provide some rebuttal to what you just heard Ms. Creed talk about. Yeah.
All right. I know she had some concern with like the well water and everything. Obviously, we can't just dump oil on the ground because that's against the law, right? Obviously, we're going to do whatever we can to make that not happen. And as for property value, I mean, I really highly doubt she has any concern about that as everything is going up. I mean, I bought the house directly next door to my business, and then it sold for more than it's worth because unfortunately, it was wanted by me. So I don't think she has any worry about the value of her house. Now, with the look of everything, of trying to make it more aesthetically pleasing is obviously a goal that we want to do anyways. You know, we don't want it to look like just like a little backyard lot. You know, I got a bigger vision, and I want to grow, and I want to do better than most other car lots. So that's something that I'm going to try to help with. And I've no, disrespect for her. You know, she's a very nice lady, and I want to do whatever I can to make her happy as well. Either way this goes. And that's pretty much it, unless you have any questions.
Any other questions for Mr. Walker? Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, any discussion? I think we've had a good part of it during our questioning period.
Mr. Chair, I recommend to approve, motion to recommend approval of this request based on the consistency and reasonableness determination statements that are included in the planning board agenda packet as may be amended during the rezoning process.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve this request to change or amend the zoning map. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. There's no opposition, so we're going to go ahead and give approval to this. Now, Mr. Walker, understand that our approval will be passed on to the county commissioners as a recommendation. This does not give you final approval. All you've secured tonight is a recommendation to the commissioners that they approve it. And they'll hold a public hearing in about 30 days from now. I'm sure you'll be notified. Do you have the date of the meeting by any chance?
Give me just 1 second. It's going to be June the 16th is when we're likely to have it.
And Ms. Creed, you're certainly welcome on that same day to appear before the commissioner and voice your concerns to them as well. They will make the final decision.
And another round of letters will go out before that meeting as well. And if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to give me a call. Okay.
Thank you all for coming. Our next case has a much different set of procedures which must be followed since it's a quasi-judicial proceeding or hearing. And I'll try to explain that to you with this statement from the School of Government. This hearing is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing. That means that, like a court hearing, state law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how this board must make its decision. These rules are different from other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases. The board's discretion here is limited. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited. This meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties with standing have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the local government, and individuals who can show they will suffer special damages Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called by the board. General witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, this board needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projection about impacts of increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. At this time, we will administer the oath of office to all persons who are going to speak at this proceeding. We have two people, or one person that has signed up, and that is Kristen Edwards. And you're the only one that signed up to speak, so if you'll please come forward. She is the applicant. Please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. Up the other way around. There you go. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence and testimony you shall present to the Rockingham County Planning Board on the matters at hand shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you very much. For now, you can be seated. We'll be calling on you soon enough. The parties to this case are entitled to an impartial board. A board member may not participate in this hearing if he or she has a fixed opinion about the matter, a financial interest in the outcome of the matter, or a close relationship with an affected person. Does any board member have any partiality to disclose and recusal to offer? I do. My interest is not financial or familial, but I do have a past business dealing with one of the parties to this case, and on that basis, I'm going to recuse myself. And from here on, the meeting will be chaired by our Vice Chairman, Julie Talbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hold on, give me a minute to leave.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to leave, so.
And while he's preparing, may I have a motion to recuse the chairman?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? No opposed? Motion carries. We'll allow Chairman Sinowitz a little time to leave the desk.
Can you bring me back a soda?
Bring a sack of burgers, too.
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, a quorum still being present, we will proceed with case number 202508. Staff, are you ready to present? Yeah.
Our next item is case 2508. This is a special use permit request. The specific use that they're requesting is referred to in our ordinance as animal facility kennel, and we actually differentiate two different types here. This one is going to be for more than 8 domesticated animals. So just as a point of reference, if you're under 8, that is actually a use permitted by right in the RA district. But once you hit that 8, that's when we get to the special use permit threshold. For the record, the tax pin is 792600688239, and this is located at 781 River Road. This property is on the western side of the county, where you start getting close to the city limits of Mayodan. And as you can see here, it's predominantly RA in this section of River Road. We do have a little bit of RP here and there and a little bit of highway commercial there across the street. This property directly to the west of it is a residential subdivision. This property is actually satellite annexed into the city limits of Mayodan. So that's why it looks a little bit funkier on the coloration and things like that, because that's going to be Mayodan zoning district. This is an aerial of the property. There's currently a home on the property and several bits of, I believe it's roughly 20 acres, so much of the front area is going to be open space for the most part. This is a site plan. I don't know if this shows up too well in the PowerPoint per se. As part of a lot of our special use permit requests, we do often require a site plan. There's a little bit more detail in your packets in regards to the interior of the building. I left just the site plan itself for the PowerPoint. The main kind of features, because we do have specific requirements as it relates to this use, but most of them relate to increases in landscape buffering, setback requirements, parking requirements, things of that nature. We also do have some things about like what they're able to do regarding signage and things like that. So those specific use standards are actually going to be in the staff report on the second page there if you want to take a look at those specifically. But after staff's review of this site plan, it does meet all those specific requirements. Let me see if I have one more slide. And finally here, these are the four criteria by which we are to make special use permit decisions by our ordinance. And I'll go ahead and read those out, try to fairly quickly for the record. That the use will not materially endanger the public health, safety, and general welfare if located where proposed and developed and operated according to the application. The use which is listed as a special use in the district in which it is proposed to be located complies with all required regulations and standards of the UDO unless greater or different regulations are contained in the individual standards for that special use. The use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, and the use is consistent with any adopted plans that encompass the property subject to the application. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the proposal.
This is in the land area, right? I mean, because it's right off of 220. I mean, it's.
Let me double check that. It should be in your packet, but let me, before I give you an answer, let me actually make sure I know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I got eyes.
This is also in that G2 area. This being in that it's closer to that 220 corridor. So it's in that section of it as opposed to the nodes.
Is there a reason why they opted to ask for a special use permit versus changing their option to say, like neighborhood commercial or something else?
Because the special use permit is an option for if you're already zoned residential agriculture. So the ordinance just allows for this as a potentiality. So if you're already zoned, this is a way to keep that residential zoning, but at the same time having an allowance for this particular use.
Got it, thanks.
Yep.
Highway commercial, what is that?
I'm really not quite sure. Looking at the property, it kind of appears like a house for the most part. I didn't do too much digging in the case file on that particular one, but it did actually take this with as much of a grain of salt as you feel you need to.
Island right there,
On
that's pretty
what
much
it
the
said
wet.
in GIS, our GIS will kind of give you like a quick little thing in a particular layer. It did describe it as a dog training facility, but I never got a chance to go back to the files on that particular one to kind of see the specifics of it. But it doesn't look like it's currently in operation in anything at the moment. Like I said, for all intents and purposes, it looks like a fairly residential structure there currently.
That's what I thought, but it's odd to see a piece of highway commercial.
highway commercial there across the street is what he's referring to, that red space. And then looking on that aerial there, like I said, it looks pretty much like a residential area. They do have a significant accessory building there next to it, but it looks like there was a place where maybe an old sign used to be, and you can kind of see the frame on it but I don't think there's currently anything in operation there.
The code uses the term domesticated animals, but the proposed use here
Right here.
by
It's
the
highway,
applicant
Is that what that is? Okay. I couldn't
says
tell that.
dog boarding facilities. Is this strictly for dogs, or are there any other, what we're hearing as domesticated animals, any other types of domesticated animals to be housed there?
That may be a good question for the applicant specifically on
Horses or pigs or whatever, I don't know.
I think as far as the wording of the use, and the way it actually ends up getting defined often ends up being at odds together. And I don't have the definition off the top of my head, but the definition here for the kenneling facility is usually fairly broad. It's not necessarily specific to dogs per se. But I think that if your question more is like kind of practically speaking of, what kind of animals would be there, that may be a good question for the applicant. But
The diagrams that you provided indicate that it is going to be strictly a dog kennel type place, right?
that's generally the sense I got, was that being the focus, but.
Any other questions? Thank you, Adam. May we have Ms. Edwards back up here, please? Ms. Adams, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Kristen Edwards, 781 River Road, Stoneville, 27048.
What would you like to tell us about this proposal?
Basically, 20-plus years ago, there was basically nowhere around. It was all land and country and where we are. And now it's like Greensboro is coming in to the western side of the county. And a lot of your houses and apartments and condominiums are being built. And in this, people are moving from the north or coming down here to retire or for work, and they always bring their loved member a dog. And it is dogs that we are looking for boarding. Instead of going to Guilford County or Forsyth County or Stokesdale, we can keep some of the revenue generated here in the western part of the county. I do know that there are some boarding facilities in Reidsville and Eden, and our boarding facility just actually closed in Ruffin, where we take our Great Dane. So I just figured this would just the love of animals that I have, that I would open up a dog boarding business for those that need it on the western part. We have some clinics. We have a veterinarian over in Massamedan and also a new veterinarian right there off of 220 and 135. They do not board animals. And a lot of people are always asking, where there are places to board or where can I go? And to keep it in here, it can generate some things. Also, being from Stoneville and Madison all my life, Massamedan all my life, I've always enjoyed being a part of the community. And with a dog boarding or just a business, it will, participate in local parades or sponsoring a basketball team at a local rec department. And, just getting involved with the community with fundraisers. I like that aspect of a business part. I am working alongside of Christy. She is an agriculture agent out of Raleigh, where we have the requirements for the dog boarding, the laws of North Carolina.
Is that it? Are there any questions from board members?
sure it looks great, your plan does. So I'm sure it had to meet all those requirements.
If Adam wants to pass, I have the actual printout.
They likely have that exact same thing.
I didn't know if the buffer could be, or if that's a little bit,
Setbacks, they seem
That's
to
better.
indicate what's in our,
if that's a little bit clearer for
Or
them to see, and then here's
agenda
the
packet.
inside. We're looking at,
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah,
little
we-
bit clearer on some of those features if y'all are having trouble with it.
No, I'm not.
No,
I'm
we've got
fine.
That's, yeah, we've got that.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
and I also have the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Customer Service. Once you are approved for myself, I have the requirements here for the licensing, because this will be licensed by the state of North Carolina.
If you'd like, I'd be happy to take that.
If it-
Have that submitted into the record.
That'd be fine.
Is this fine to take? Do you need a copy of it or?
I got one. Thank you.
Does that licensing include property, how you set it up, the size of the kennels, all of the
Yes.
dimensions and so forth, and how often they're fed, how often they get to play, and all of that's all defined in that licensing process?
Yes, sir. A requirement of 3 hours a day per dog to outside play. You have to have 2 hours of cleaning time, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And you walk them, morning and night. We're going to be open for a drop-off from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then the pickup departure time, when they come back from a work trip or a vacation, 3 to 5 p.m. And then we're going to be closed to the public all other times.
So the storage of materials, the disposal of the waste, and all that kind of stuff is all defined in that licensing process?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards, you live on this property, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't own this property, is that correct?
Correct.
Is there anything in the licensure that requires you to own the property? And what happens if the owner sells?
So this is my father. My mother passed away 2 years ago, so this is my father's place. And he has already gave permission, and Adam has that paper that he signed. So technically, I'll let you know, and I don't want my father to pass away for another 20 years, but it's left to me when he passes. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that answered that question sufficiently.
Yeah. And we hope the 20 years also.
Yes. Yes, yes.
are there any requirements for sound restrictions in the licensing for the facility?
Yes, there will be, it will be insulated inside, and a lot of times they will be inside at nighttime. This will be I think it would be I want to say a 30 by 60 by 12 that we're looking at.
I could just imagine, with the neighbors, if you got a lot of dogs coming there that don't know each other, because it's a boarding facility, and they could get rowdy.
They can.
Yeah.
And if you look, we have 2 fences. I've got 2 fences because I'm going to break them apart, smaller dogs to bigger dogs. And fortunately, being from here, I'm a people person, and I've went and met those budding neighbors, and they are all aboard and happy, and
I was
yeah, so
surprised
that's-
there's nobody sitting over there. So
this is my support.
done a little bit of homework, which is good.
And has there been any calls?
I know I've had one.
I've had one as well, just a general inquiry.
Okay. Any more questions from board members? Is there any discussion? May I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Edwards, you're good. Thank you. You can.
If I may, today's my 50th birthday.
Happy birthday.
And no bribery whatsoever, but I am celebrating here with you all tonight, so I had to make me happy. Miss Adam wants to,
We can't take.
you can't take it? Okay, well, there was some Hall's cookies and some bones, so just wanted you to celebrate with me. Thank you, I'm 50.
Maybe after the meeting, but not now.
Okay.
Strike that. Cannot, yes.
Thank you.
We can't consider that.
Yes. I move to approve this request based on evidentiary determinations, including additional conditions agreed upon by the planning board and the applicant during the evidentiary hearing.
All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, none showing, motion passes. And this does not go through the county commissioners. So,
This process ends here.
huh?
This process ends here.
This process ends here. You will be building your dog kennel business. Yes. Happy birthday.
I move to return the chairman back to the planning board.
Thank you very much. Get a second on that. Second. All in favor? Yeah, there we go.
You know this lady?
I'm no Paul Sinowitz, let's put it that way.
Okay.
That was her second one involved. But she's, they should do a good job.
We missed you, boss.
Yeah.
He is a retired, still is a police officer.
It's inadequate.
Well, I went down to the local pub.
You brought us nothing back.
I had a toddy.
Does he live in England?
You missed it.
He lives in the townhouse, I think, in Eagle.
Mr. Chair, we're ready to pick up from the agenda, having approved this case and motioned you back in.
Any new business to discuss? Any old business to discuss?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Votes unanimous. We are adjourned.